Happy Mother's Day. Well, I looked at the news today and I thought I would take a break from that. And I'm not walking, in part because I just had this thought when I was thinking to walk, and it was about my mom. And I thought it might be more appropriate because we can all share in the thinking of I give a homage to my mom. My mom was a fiery redhead, full of vim and vigor, even years later when I was born. But she was at a party, and my dad came in, and she said to her girlfriend, "I think I'll just hang around a little bit more." They were about to leave. And my dad, who is not slow in the uptake, he called her Rusty because of her red hair. And she didn't like her name Agnes, so he immediately won her attention. "You had me at Rusty." Maybe she'd say that. She didn't like the name Agnes, although it's a beautiful name. But I guess it was not understood by her friends in school, and they were in the St. Pius church area where when we were young. So after World War II, I was born, and I came in at 8 pounds and 10 ounces, and I was a colicky baby, and my mother talked to me about that until I understood what she was talking about. I had no idea that she resented it. Also, I kept her up all night for her to deliver me. Now, some people say it can't be true, but I remember being in a bassinet. Once my mom went into a bakery on Tremont with me, and she told me to sit in a chair, and another woman grabbed my arm to sit in the chair herself. My mom saw it, and she swung her heavy pocketbook across the air, and I don't know, it's 5 or 6 or something like that, and she hit the woman, and the woman bounced off the bakery glass, slid to the floor, and then she turned to me and she says, "Come on, Johnny." And then we walked down the street. That's when I realized my mom was secretly an Amazon. She would fight for her kids just like any mom would, I suppose. We were in the South Bronx, and some of the rules were, physical rules were a little loose, I suppose. Once my brother Charlie, who was 3 years younger than me, he got into a scrape. Some woman knocked her down because she didn't like him roller skating past her. And my mom was watching out of our picturesque fourth floor apartment. And she came charging down and she knocked the woman out of her chair. You may be getting a picture of our family. It wasn't all this kind of thing, but it had some of that. My mom had health problems early on. She had a stroke at 50. And she survived that. And it was the first time I sort of had to step up to the line to be an adult, because my dad was kind of lost, which was very unusual for him. He was a take charge kind of guy, and I don't know, on some level I think he hadn't contemplated it. And going through what he did recently with Holly, how you'd have this paroxysm of pain that was involuntary when you feared something was going to happen to, in my case, Holly, and in my dad's case, Rusty. And but she was saved from the stroke. She had an operation years after that. She had to have a pig valve, and she swore ever after that she would not eat any pork, and she didn't. My dad used to joke that, well, until I left home, I didn't know all meat wasn't cooked black, and there was no fear of trichinosis in our household. My mom did all sorts of jobs. She typed. She worked at Biograph Studios, which was a TV movie studio where they filmed Car 54, Where Are You, Butterfield 8, and a whole bunch of other things. We bought a candy store when we moved out to Throggs Neck with some funds that were left to me, and we called it the Four Redheads. We all had red hair: mom, dad, my brother, and myself, and it was bright red then. And we were, as a family, we were more like Leave It to Beaver than say the Honeymooners. One of these days, Alice, boom, right to the moon. There wasn't any talk like that in our household. My mom cried when I spoke publicly. Uh, she said she was struck that I had the ability, but I wondered if she was concealing the fact that it was such a miserable performance. She saw me try a case in court once, and the deputy Marshall was so solicitous of her. He got her a seat in the row and everything like that. I think the judge said hello to her. And she liked the judge before the first break in the trial, because what I was saying was being upheld over the objection of the defense counsel in the case. But then I started mixing it up a little bit, and the judge was ruling against my position. Nothing that serious, those who know how trials work. And then she said, I don't like that judge anymore, So her loyalty to her son was paramount over the judgments, juridical or otherwise, of the judge. My mom was in New York. The whole family was in the South Bronx, and then various other places in Throgs Neck and Pelham Bay. And when I came down to Virginia to do investigations and so forth, they followed years afterwards, and we're down in Orange. And my mom and dad, I think, really enjoyed the time, and I got to see them and so forth. But they were always being careful of funds, even as we were young and as we got older as well. And my mom wanted a parrot, a speaking parrot from South America. And my dad said on the budget that they worked out, she couldn't have a parrot. And so one day she said, when you die, I'm going to get that parrot. And my dad said, well, I'm not going to have you waiting for me to die to get a parrot. So he got her the parrot. And one day, I was approaching Thanksgiving. It was in 1983. My dad, mom, and my brother, I wasn't present. I was going to come down for Thanksgiving dinner. They were in the kitchen, my dad drinking coffee and smoking, and my mom probably was smoking too. She shouldn't have been. And the parrot said something strange that it had never said before. It said, I love you, Rusty. And then she walked out of the room to go into the bedroom, and my dad and brother heard like a bump, and they went, and my mother was gone. She'd passed. So she crossed over the near distance into nothingness, and that's always the question, is it a pause or a full stop? But my mother had a full life, and every son and daughter knows what I'm talking about. Everybody has their own story. And this is Mother's Day, in which we're supposed to think of mothers and what they do. And what they do is quite amazing. We talk about heroics, and in the common day-to-day world, everyone's a hero. Everyone who faces life and its challenges is a hero, because they go in and they do what they have to do. So, such is the coil of life that we lose this form that we travel around in, and our spirit withdraws. And for some, they're never forgotten. So here it is. Tomorrow, this formerly 8-pound, 10-ounce baby is going to have a birthday. I'll be 35, give or take a few years. And so, like everybody else who's thinking on Mother's Day of their mom, I'm thinking of my mom, and what a wonderful person she was. So that's all I got to say. I'm not going to swing in the trees today, but I will tomorrow. And it was nice visiting with you. And I hope you can remember some of the good times of your mom. And if she's still with you, embrace her, because you'll have all the questions and thoughts you want to ask when they're gone. And it's a shame to have to reserve those questions and then lose the opportunity to ask them. All the best. Bye-bye.